Well, it's time to take a look at Superman versus Superman, or Man of Steel, I guess. Well, anyway. So, once again, at Cosmic Book News has got this article discussing James Gunn's Superman lost over half the audience of Zack Snyder's films. How could that be? Well, there's details and math and all that. So James Gunn's Superman is now past Batman versus Superman at the domestic box office, earning $331 million compared to BVS's $330 million. Just barely made it there. The headline made the rounds. That headline made the rounds over the weekend, with some outlets calling it the highest grossing Superman film ever domestically. So Superman is, yeah. But as several movie watchers pointed out on X, the number hides the reality. That's right. Higher ticket prices are doing a lot of the work in terms of actual tickets sold. Superman is far behind its predecessors. Worth pointing out is that the shells that run the DC Cinematic sub on Reddit have locked the post and aren't allowing fans to comment. Well, he says we put up the post. Well, if you want to go check that, I don't care about Reddit. In the thread on X, user Ben W, he's not W anymore, noted that in 2016, Batman v Superman sold an estimated 159 million tickets worldwide. By comparison, Superman is sold only around 67 million. That's roughly 47% of BVS's audience. See, it's a point to be made because tickets were cheaper then. That's also a point to be made. Tickets were cheaper. So, the lower the price, the larger the market. Usually. But anyway, so Batman versus Superman, 874 million worldwide, between 146 and 159 million tickets sold. Average ticket price at the time, $5.50 to $6 adjusted. Meanwhile, we jump all the way to 2025 for Superman. So it makes 579 million worldwide, with 64 between 64 and 67 million tickets sold. So you can see the comparison already. And then, of course, the ticket price, $8.64 to $9. So that makes up the amount. And still, you know. Now, look, DC took a beating by the DCEU because most of the films were either flawed or bad. There was a lot of excitement about Batman versus Superman. And Man of Steel, it didn't hit the Marvel money. It didn't hit the $1 billion money, but it made a lot of money. You know? And then they jumped to Batman versus Superman. Now, and especially the theatrical version of that movie is not that good. It's got a lot of cool scenes in it, but as a film unto itself, the director's cut version of it is a lot better. It explains itself better. The motivations are more spelled out there and that sort of thing. It's still a flawed film, but I enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. But it's a flawed film, and it was given the impossible task of doing what Marvel did in, I don't know, 4 or 5 movies at that time, and do it in one. It was just a bad idea. They should have done a Man of Steel 2 and learned from the mistakes of the previous one. And you could just sort of nudge it. You don't have to scrap everything and start over type thing, or scrap it but pretend like you haven't scrapped it, which is what they ended up doing with a lot of the DC stuff. But anyway, they panicked a little there, and then they went nowhere with no direction, no idea of what to do, and it showed. So anyway, so there you go. That's 43 to 46% drop. So it goes to Grok. Hey, is this true? And Grok reports, all the differences between the two. Man of Steel, doing the comparison, 668 million worldwide, 112 to 122 million tickets sold. Average price again, $556. Superman. Well, of course, it's the same, because it's only one movie. There's not two Superman movies just yet. But nevertheless, yeah, you can see the jump between. That's how many tickets it sold, where Superman only sold here. So that's a definitive. There was more people buying tickets to see Man of Steel than there were seeing Superman. And again, there's all the different factors. DC stumbling around, Marvel spoiling the well and causing the superhero fatigue to a point, that sort of thing. And of course, overall, the movies were so bad that it's really bad movie fatigue. And one would expect much of the same. The Superman film was fun here and there. There's enough there to be entertaining, um, but I see it as flawed in its own way, just like Man of Steel was flawed. At least Man of Steel, yeah, it wasn't following. I mean, it was following Superman Returns, but nevertheless, it wasn't following any. In fact, it was following Dark Knight, so they were kind of. There was a little bit more curiosity and excitement there. Where after the glut of superhero movies is a bit diminished by now. So there's several factors to throw in. And of course, the ticket price. Ticket prices cost more. So, hey, look at the money we made. Yeah, it's because the tickets were so expensive. But at the same time, less people bought tickets. Well, they're expensive. Both are true. So anyway, there we go. This is according to Grok, but it's based on the math of the actual selling of the ticket. So, as McGloin has reported in the past, inflation-adjusted ticket sales reveal that far fewer people are actually watching Guns reboot. While the dollar totals might edge past Superman films domestically, the audience size is down 55 to 60% from BVS. Also, in today's dollars, Guns Superman can't compete, as Man of Steel nearly brought in $1 billion and Batman versus Superman over 1.175 billion. That's adjusted for inflation in today's dollars, as it says. So, yeah, it did. But again, this is going back a ways now, and there's different factors. So the comparisons won't always be fair, but it's not insignificant. So while Grok concluded, superhero fatigue seems real. DC needs a reboot spark. Well, Superman is the reboot. you know, I think Superman would have been. I keep going back to this, and I'll stand by it. I think Superman would have been better if it were a more slimmed down movie and not this ensemble thing. And the guess here, and I until proven otherwise, is that James Gunn is more comfortable in the ensemble approach to these superhero movies than a central character. Superman's the central character to the movie, but it's like Superman and the Justice Gang. That's basically what it is, you know. And as far as him earlier saying, I don't do movies to set up a whole universe or something like that, is yeah, you do. That's what this is. So, but you can still do both. It's just it needed to be reined in a lot. Now, that being said, then you got Mr. Terrific. Everybody liked him, and that's a boost for. I think he's going to get a show, and stuff like that. So, damn. Well, what do you do? But just to jump out the gates like that, I don't know. I think it was a bit confusing for some. And it wasn't for me. I knew all these characters and all that sort of thing, but I wanted a Superman movie, but I got a DCU movie, see? And I don't think you have to treat it like each movie is an episode of a television series called DCU. I know that's how Marvel did it, but they didn't do it initially. And I think more of the containment of these films needs to be emphasized. The connections can come later. When they have their get together for a Justice League movie, okay, fine. But these brands you got to build from the bottom up. So anyway, just a few thoughts there, but by the numbers, and even with the years between, it's Man of Steel beats Superman. It's just man. You can argue quality and what you like between the two and all that, and preferred. And Corn Sweat makes a great Superman. Hopefully we'll get a better chance of him getting to do another Superman movie. There's some talk of him being in another movie that's not necessarily a Superman movie that James Gunn's working on, but I'd like to see him do a full-on Superman movie, something we never really got to see from Cavill other than Man of Steel. And hopefully Corn Sweat doesn't get screwed over either. I mean, first Brandon Routh, then Henry Cavill. Is Corn Sweat going to be the bad luck guy number 3 here? I don't know. But yeah, the differences between the two and all that is the jarringness and it was a bit more comedy and a bit more lightheartedness, even though there were very serious and I would say incredibly dark issues with the movie, especially with Jor-El, which I don't like at all. It's like Man of Steel. I didn't like how Jonathan Kent died and that sort of thing. But you know, it's not going to derail the whole thing for me. So I'll see what they do next. But that's the thing, there's always some flaws. But something like Jor-El was just unnecessary. I don't know what you did that for. But whatever. Oh, because he wanted to do the thing about him reconciling his legacy to his life is on Earth and all. Yeah, but that's not even worth the trouble. He was an infant when he was raised on planet Earth, learning about where he came from and stuff like that. But it's never going to change the man he is. He is Clark Kent. I know what Kill Bill said, and I understand that, but he's Clark Kent. So anyway, but based on these numbers, yeah, how significant is it? It's somewhat, but it's not totally determinative, I don't think.